Well, look, we'll continue to work hard to get the real information out there. Obviously, this is misinformation. The fact of the matter is that emissions from our oil sands are comparable to other heavy oils, and that the industry continues to invest and continues to find ways to reduce those emissions.
That's what a defense of the oil sands looks like. Not saying, we love you, Chiquita, we agree with you. Saying, no, that's misinformation. We're going to get the truth out there, and frankly, we're the same as other heavy oils in the world. That's what a leader says, who gives a damn about Canadian industry, unlike Alison Redford. Well, joining me now is someone who I imagine is going to agree with my contempt. I'm talking about Danielle Smith, the leader of Alberta's Wild Rose Party, who joins me now from Calgary, looks like. Hey, how you doing, Danielle?
Doing just great. Thanks for having me on, Ezra.
You know, I'm so spitting mad. You were one of the first politicians to come out with a strong statement against Chiquita. You were an early adopter of the pro-Canada, pro-Alberta strategy. I think it's a no-brainer. You went out first. Stephen Harper came out, Jason Kenney, Ron Ambrose. It took Alison Redford, the Premier, 5 days. And when she came out, she surrendered. Am I right to be just shocked by this?
You are right to be shocked by it. We have a group here called the Alberta Enterprise Group that did a press release on the day that they had heard about it, calling for a boycott on Chiquita products. And I took up the challenge right away. I went down to the fridge, took out a mandarin orange, and said I wasn't going to be eating any Chiquita products until they reversed their ridiculous position. We've seen this now a couple of times. Lush did this to us. Bed Bath & Beyond did this. Chiquita's doing this. We can't let them get away with it, because the fact of the matter is it's a whole lot easier to boycott Chiquita products than it is for them to try to target fuel coming from Alberta's oil sands. As we know, we don't actually go to the gas pump and see non-oil sands fuel coming out of one pump and oil sands fuel coming out of another. It's all mixed in together. It's actually not possible for anybody to really do this kind of targeting of our oil sands unless what their agenda is to stop the Keystone Pipeline project. That's the only way that they would be able to effectively shut down Western Canadian production of oil sands fuel, and I think that's what the agenda is here.
I mean, theoretically, we could label some oil as ethical oil if we could trace it back to the right refinery, to the right pipeline, just like we do with fair trade coffee. But so you're raising the technical issue. Can Chiquita actually do this? But let's say they could. What they're saying, Danielle, is that they're making a moral decision, that they would rather buy oil from Saudi Arabia, Russia, Nigeria, Sudan, Iran, than from Canada. For that alone, they reveal their odious nature. That alone should make us condemn and boycott them.
I don't think these companies think this through very well, but this is why it's important to have leadership that points it out.
Danielle,
Truly,
these guys thought it through.
They don't actually think through.
No,
they don't think through the consequences. And I think when they realize the consequences, you think they do? Well, look at what they're doing. They are backpedaling so fast away from their comments. It was very clear what they said 5 days ago. And as soon as it became clear that others did not agree with their position, they've been backpedaling. They even have the Premier here trying to defend their position. But I think this is why the Alberta Premier had to come out very strongly, and she failed to do that. She's now trying to offer a justification for Chiquita. That wasn't the right answer. The right answer was to say they're wrong, that they shouldn't have done this, and that any other company who does this is taking the wrong approach.
I think you're letting Chiquita off too easy. I read their 2-page letter. It was written by the Senior Vice President. Their CEO himself has called for the banning of Canadian ethical oil. So I think Chiquita knows exactly what they're doing. They're trying to greenwash themselves using Canada as a scapegoat. But you are so right, Danielle. Here's the thing. I don't think we're going to change Chiquita's corporate DNA. They've been unethical for a century. What we need to do is send a message to any other company out there that's thinking of using the oil sands as an easy sniper shot. And we've got to teach a lesson. If you punch us, if you bring a knife, we'll bring a gun. If you punch us once, we'll punch you 1,000 times. We need to show people that we're going to stand up for Canada. And the Premier stood up for Chiquita. I can't believe it. What are you going to do about it? What, you're not the official opposition leader, but you're pretty close. What are you going to do about it?
I have to tell you, the very first letter they wrote made it absolutely clear. They wanted to avoid fuel from tar sands refineries, and they wanted to work towards the ultimate elimination of the use of those fuels. There was no ambiguity there. They knew exactly what they were saying. The Premier should have known exactly what they were saying, and instead she chose to defend Chiquita. What I did is I took it to the personal level. At my local shopping mall, I'm able to get Del Monte bananas, so I don't have to worry about buying Chiquita products there. And I'm going to continue doing that because they actually haven't really backed away from it. They still expressed, even in their clarification, the fact that they are trying to use fuels with a lesser carbon footprint or however it is they used it. But the point is that what they're trying to do is target Alberta oil sands fuels. And I think what has to happen is the Premier has to make sure that every time this occurs that she stands up and she talks about the true record of Alberta's oil sands. We know that Alberta is a supplier of a safe, secure supply of energy, not only for this country but also for the continent. We know that we abide by human rights standards, we abide by occupational health and safety standards, we abide by environmental standards that you just don't see in many of the blood oil jurisdictions around the world. There is no reason why anybody would look at Alberta compared to Saudi Arabia or Iran or Nigeria or other jurisdictions and somehow think that Alberta is the one that should be targeted for this kind of attack. It should be, if anyone is going to be targeted at all, it would be one of those other nations. Yeah. What should happen is that the Americans should be looking at our product as the ethical source of energy, as the safe, secure supplier of energy for North America, and they should be embracing what we have to offer rather than trying to condemn it.
Danielle Smith, you're sounding an awful lot like an Alberta Premier ought to sound. Thanks for being on the show today.